Now, a Jimmy Mathis exclusive, The Stone Zone, featuring Roger Stone, veteran of 30 years in politics and 9 presidential campaigns, including Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, and Donald Trump. Here is Jimmy Mathis on WBAL News Radio 1090 and the WBAL app.
Welcome back to the Jimmy Mathis Show, with you till 10 o'clock every Sunday at 9:30. Join us for the Stone Zone. Former Donald Trump top advisor Roger Stone joins the program right now. Good morning, Mr. Stone. How you doing?
Jimmy, great to be with you.
Always a pleasure. A lot to get to. Let's just jump into it. North Korea.
But first of all, happy Easter. He has risen.
Happy
I
Easter.
I just got back from Mass and
Okay.
got up early today, so feeling good.
Good. Happy Easter. I should have started with that. I apologize. North Korea doing a missile test yesterday. Ballistic missile. Looks like it landed in the East Sea. Obviously not a successful one, which, again, I'm not a big conspiracy guy, but that seems somewhat convenient, actually, for North Korea. They were able to at least attempt it. There has been no response from the U.S. as of yet. Maybe this buys Donald Trump a little bit of time, but at the end of the day, nothing really changes.
Well, I would argue that they did this test because they're feeling the heat. Most certainly, the North Koreans saw what just happened in Syria.
Right.
They saw what just happened in Afghanistan with the use of the largest single bomb we have, below the nuclears, like the one we dropped on Japan, or the 2 we dropped on Japan. There's a new sheriff in town, and I think Donald Trump has made it clear that no longer will American presidents draw a line in the sand and then sit back hopelessly, or I should say helplessly, while our adversaries cross that line.
And where do you stand on this, Roger?
I think the dictator's acting out. He's trying to rattle the saber like we're afraid of him. I just don't think he understands how he is isolated in the world community. And clearly the discussions with the Chinese are bearing some fruit. The Chinese clearly now pressuring the North Koreans to start acting better because this very symbolic cancellation of an enormous shipment of North Korean coal that the Chinese had purchased and repurchased it from U.S. vendors, very smart symbolism. And the North Koreans have only one or two trading partners, also communist countries. So the Chinese could choke them off economically. Their economy is already, in the toilet, as they say in parts of Baltimore.
And where do you stand on this when it comes to the 2 strikes, one in Afghanistan, one in Syria, the rhetoric with North Korea? I know one of the things that you have supported with Donald Trump was not getting involved in all these conflicts. And obviously,
yes, that's correct. However, I have my greatest reservations are about Syria. Because I think it's a unique situation. I think these are 3 different situations. But quickly. In Syria, I don't think there's any good reason for us to be involved, given the fact that both sides, whether it's the Islamic terrorists on the one side or Assad, who finances Hezbollah and Hamas and is propped up by the Russians on the other, we have no friends here. We shouldn't be spending money or blood, borrowed money, or the blood of any American there. That said, I could see why the limited surgical strike on their base was symbolically important to send a message to the Chinese, the Iranians, and the North Koreans about the new resolve of the United States. And that geopolitical upside was so great that the raid was probably justified on that basis alone. I don't think it's going to change things on the ground in Syria, and I continue to be involved I continue to be opposed to any further involvement. 150,000 troops or a no-fly zone, that's insanity. This will become a Vietnamese-type quagmire. So I stick to my guns. I had to think this through because my initial instinct was bad. In the case of Afghanistan, ISIS is a leftover thread from the Bush-Clinton policies of intervention. It's too bad that Donald Trump has to clean it up, but we do. They're dangerous. They're out to get us. Hopefully we're not creating more ISISes with our interventionist foreign policy going forward. Ron Paul and his son are right. We've exacerbated feelings in the region unnecessarily by sticking our nose into things that weren't our business. We do, but in North Korea, you have a completely different situation. This guy can actually do us harm if he has nuclear weapons, and he would. And therefore, that is the kind of thing where you ought to engage. I'm not an isolationist.
Right.
Isolationism, ignore the whole world. No, ISIS is dangerous, and they are the fault of the Bushes and the Clintons that they even exist. George W. creates the vacuum under which they thrive, and Hillary arms them.
Roger, let me ask you,
So
Maxine
I think
Waters.
I think there are three different situations. I think Trump is handling all three quite well.
Okay, Maxine Waters marching in Washington D.C. on this tax thing. She's been, the loudest voice calling for the impeachment of Donald Trump. Maxine Waters saying, "I'll fight every day until he's impeached," saying that she doesn't respect this president.
She's a shrill demagogue. She's fairly ignorant. She's a joke in the House, even among her colleagues, because she's so ridiculously radical. She's got a district which, for ethnic and political reasons, she can never lose, no matter how daffy she acts. She and her husband have had enormous ethical problems that would have put a politician of another skin color in prison. I really believe that. I cannot understand how, on the basis of what we know publicly, that she's still walking around. It's really quite extraordinary. I've met her. She's charming. She's smart in the sense that she knows how to chat. She was a lot of the things that people thought were bizarre that she said about the Bushes trafficking cocaine into Mena, Arkansas, was actually true. So every once in a while she stumbles onto the truth, but she can't really be taken seriously as a political figure.
Trump administration coming out last week saying that they would not make the White House visitor logs public. There's some few exceptions to that when it comes to Freedom of Information Act, but tacking away from what had been standard policy under Barack Obama.
Yeah, I think that's a mistake. Transparency is a good thing. And with the White House being a swirling cauldron of intrigue and everybody trying to be the would-be puppeteer when there is no puppet is kind of, laughable. Trump's doing his own thing, as he always will do, and he's only as good as the information he has to operate up on. I'm convinced that based on a 40-year relationship, whenever Donald Trump has all the facts, he'll almost always make the right decision. He only makes bad decisions when he hasn't been presented all the facts.
Right.
And my advice to that White House staff would be, don't play games with his information flow. Let him talk to whoever he wants. Let him read as much as he wants. I mean, at this point, I know, for example, that his mail is, being heavily sorted, shall we say.
Sure.
He likes his mail. He likes to see his mail. He likes to read the mail, and he likes to dictate responses. So, let Trump be Trump. I think, all things considered, you now have not just good feeling on the economy, not just consumer confidence or manufacturing segment confidence. The joblessness numbers are down.
Right.
The job creation numbers are up, and they're up beyond the national average or what we've seen going back almost 10 years. It's a nice uptick, and I think it's because of the repeal of regulation and some of these other things that are being done by executive order and in the departments.
Roger, looking at the Hill right now, headline, Roger Stone defends WikiLeaks, calls for CIA head to resign now over attacks. Your thoughts?
I have a long piece on this that we'll publish tomorrow at stonecoldtruth.com and also at stonezone.com, which has now been revived as an archival site. And I think it's important to understand where this fellow come from. Mr. Pompeo has this job because he was a friend of Vice President Pence's in the House. There's no evidence that he's qualified, and if he would look at the comments of Mr. Comey before the Intelligence Committee, they're pretty dicey. I understand that the spooks in Langley and all the career guys keep saying that Assange is a Russian asset. There's still no evidence of it that they can provide to us. It's their theory. It's their assessment. Now, the problem here is that Donald Trump said, I think, very, I wouldn't say laudatory, but he defended WikiLeaks in the sense that while, yes, hacking is illegal, the corruption that they're uncovering for the American people is a much bigger crime. Right. Dr. Martin Luther King broke the law. It used to be illegal for a black person to be married to a white person in this country. Sometimes the law is wrong. And breaking a small law to expose corruption and sexual exploitation of our government and issues of, in some cases, treason, I think that's a higher purpose. I think that's a higher calling. I don't know. What bothers me here is the CIA director is just buying the load of steaming BS being handed out by the bureaucrats in Langley. They can't prove this. If they could, they would have. So it's very distressing that he doesn't understand. I'm not asking him to excuse WikiLeaks' violation of the law. He can't do that. He's a government official, and I understand that. I just told you how I feel about it. But, yeah, I think it's a mistake, and he should resign. They're going to run him around the block. You've had this situation at the CIA before where when an inexperienced director was sent there, someone who didn't come up through the agency, the career bureaucrats ran him by just not telling him everything. This was certainly true under Stansfield Turner and Jimmy Carter, who was sent there to clean up and couldn't get the cooperation of the agency. George Bush fit right in with the culture. He was down for all of their skullduggery. But this has been very typical of directors who just buy whatever they're told. In this case, it's irresponsible. He's just wrong.
Any update, Roger, when you testifying on Capitol Hill?
I hear absolutely nothing. But in all candor, I think the attack on Syria has knocked the wind out of this particular sail. Adam Schiff, who is the Sammy Glick of the U.S. Congress, trying to get to the U.S. Senate, think he might climb over my dead body and grab Dianne Feinstein's seat on the basis of this issue is, we now have factcheck.org publishing a piece saying that there's no evidence that Stone knew about the WikiLeaks hack of Podesta's email. Stone never said that. They go on to say that I never had demonstrated any knowledge of the substance or the timing beyond October of the WikiLeaks disclosures later in the campaign. So this balloon has been popped. I understand why I was the perfect victim. I'm a hyper partisan. I have a reputation for bare knuckle politics. I'm the Republicans Democrats love to hate. So it was a nice try. The problem is there's no cigar. It's just not true. I've never had any Russian contacts.
Throw this out to you, Roger. Obviously, the situation in North Korea is hitting a tipping point right now. People have thrown out the possibility, is a solution taking out the leader? Is that an option right now? I mean, because it seems like other options are pretty few and limited, but just going in, taking out Kim Jong-un.
I think it's a mistake to strategize these things in public, to be honest with you. I really think you have to keep your counsel, and it's very important. This is something Nixon told Kissinger over and over again. It's essential that your adversaries have no idea what you're capable of or what you're doing, particularly the first.
Right.
He called it the madman theory. He said, Henry, you go to the North Koreans and you tell them, look, Nixon's unhinged. The guy could hit the button any minute now. You better do something smart because I can't control him.
Right.
And, of course, it is you don't know what kind of diplomatic games are being played here, but they've got a clear signal from Donald J. Trump that he's not putting up with any crap.
No, I think that message is absolutely.
We have drawn the line with them. We keep letting them move forward. They keep denying that they have nuclear ambitions for the purposes of a weapon. At the same time, that's exactly what they're doing.
Website, The Stone Zone, Making of the President, is your new book, Roger. And we have some news. May 27th is the date. May 27th, you were scheduled to be coming to Baltimore. We'll be holding a book signing. I believe the hours will be between 3 and 5 at Bread and Circuses in Towson, Maryland. So looking forward to seeing you again. The last time I saw you was out at the convention, so it'll be good to get you here in Baltimore and an opportunity for the listeners that hear you every Sunday to come meet you, buy the book, and I'm sure you'll be signing it. And Bread and Circuses is a great place. Owner's great. Can't wait for you to meet him. And it'll be good to get you in town.
Well, I'm very excited about visiting the hometown of Spiro T. Agnew.
Right.
And we're going to have I think we're going to have a very lively time. I have to scaff up on some crab cakes since Mrs. Stone hijacked the ones that you sent me. She said, by the way, they were absolutely delicious.
Well, they are from Pappas's off of Taylor Avenue, and I'll take you out there myself, and we'll get them, and we'll have some crab cakes together.
This teaches me to be on the road doing book signings. So, in any event.
Good stuff. Roger, always a pleasure. You can hear the Stone Zone every Sunday here at 9:30 on the Jimmy Mathis Show. The Making of the President 2016, Roger Stone's new book. May 27th at Bread and Circuses. Come out, meet Roger. He'll be with us again next Sunday. Happy Easter, Roger. Have a great day. Quick break. Tyrone Keyes in studio. Quick break. We'll be right back.